Hello and welcome back to Get Great at Maths. I'm here to help you pass your maths exam, so hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to look at keywords, key formulas and how to gain top marks. So let's get ready to get great at maths. In this question, we're going to look at the key part of the question, which is the question itself, which is 689 plus 38. Now, this is the first question on the SATs paper for paper 1, and for your first question, it's quite a tricky question to start with. There have been easier questions to start with, but addition is one of the easier topics to be able to add. So some students will be able to look at that question and just know the answer, but I would say the majority of children will look at that question and think, oh, I don't know what the answer is straight away. So they will have to use a written method in order to be able to get the answer. So your key facts, to be able to get the mark, so this question is worth 1 mark. Remember, you need to write your answer in this box here provided. Your key facts are that you need to use column notation. And when we use column notation, it means we need to line up the place values. And our place values are our thousands, hundreds, tens and ones. So in this question here on the 689, it tells you as you read the word, this is your hundreds column because it's 600s. 80, this is a tens, and the 9 is just a number on its own, so this is for ones. So we've got hundreds, tens and ones. You need to find out what these two are, and then you need to write them underneath in the correct column places, so they're lined up, and then you can add. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic, so hopefully you have added up these two numbers correctly. Remember, when we add up, we always start on the right hand side, so we always start with the ones column. Okay, so the furthest thing on the right is where we start when we add. So we've got to do 9 plus 8. Now you can use your fingers if you need to work out what 8 plus 9 is. Start with 9 and then count 8 more on. Or you can think, I know 8 plus 8 because double 8 is 16 and 9 is 1 more. So add 1 more on is 17. There are numerous ways to be able to get the answer 17, as long as you can add together 8 plus 9, or you could do 10 plus 8, which gives you 18, and then take away 1 because 9 is 1 less than 10, so that again gives you 17. Now, when you come to carry the 10, it is personal preference where you carry the 10. Personally, I like to carry the 10s up here, but some people like to draw another line underneath and put the 10s underneath. Personally, it doesn't matter where you put them, it's personal preference as to where you carry your 10. So here's my 10 I've carried in here. I like to keep it here, so when you're adding these numbers up here, you remember all these numbers here to add together, so you don't forget about the one underneath. So 9 plus 8 we said was 17, so here's the 110, and the 7 ones is here. Then we've got 8 plus 3 plus 1. So again, you can use fingers if you need to, or just work them out. You could do 8 plus 1 is 9, plus 1 more takes you to 10, then you've got 2 left to take you to 12. Or you could have done 8 plus 3, you can count on from 8, 3 which takes you to 11, add 1 more, again gives you 12. So we need to carry the 1 over here and the 2 goes underneath. From here, we've got 6 plus 1 is 7. Remember to write your answer in the box. So we have got 727 for 1 mark. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. This question was worth 1 mark, so the 1M means 1 method mark for getting the answer 727. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe and tell your friends. Make sure you help yourself and help others to get great at maths. This is a question on division, and the question says we've got to do 72 divided by 3. Now, some children will know the answer to this straight away just by looking at it. Some children will be able to use a bit of thinking and work it out in their head, and other children won't know at all. They won't have a clue how to work it out. So if you're in the position where you're not sure what to do, you need to follow the following steps. But before you do that, you need to remember that this box here is where you're going to write your answer, and this question is worth 1 mark. So your key facts. You need to use the bus stop method when you're dividing. So if you're unsure on how to do any division, use your bus stop method. And then if you write each box or each digit in a different box, so every single box you've got here, if you put a different number in every single box, it will just help set your work out nice and clearly. So press pause, have a go at using the bus stop method to get the answer, and then press play when you've got yourself an answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've got the bus stop. Remembering the bus stop looks like this, and the number you're dividing by, so we're dividing by 3, is the number that goes outside the front of the bus stop. That means the 72 or the 7 and the 2 go underneath. So we now look at the 3 into the first digit here, which is the 7. So we say, how many times does 3 fit into 7? So you should know your 3 times table. It goes 3, 6, 9. 7 goes in twice, so 3, 6, it goes in twice, so 2 whole ones. And then to get to 7, there is 1 left over. So 2 times 3 was 6, and then to make it 7, it was 1 left over. So we've got a 1 10 here. So we need to write this as a 10 in here. So this number now becomes the number 12. So we now got the number 3 into the number 12. You should know 3 times 4 is 12, so that means 3 goes into 12 4 times, so that number goes at the top, which is the number 24. So the number 24 needs to be written in the box here. That is the correct answer. Now some students will need to use this method, and I would say the majority of students will need to use this method, but there is another way of doing it. Now you should know your 3 times table. Now you should know that 3 times 12 is 36. So if 36 times 12 is 3, you should be able to think from 36 to 72. 72 is half of 36. So if you take your 12 and double it, that gives you the 24. So that's how you could do it in your head without writing it all out. A lot of children will find that very, very difficult, and they will find this method using the bus stop much easier. Give yourself a big tick if you got it correct. Well done. So the answer on this was 24 on the mark scheme for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please tell your friends, please share so we can all get great at maths together. In this question, we're looking at multiplying a 2-digit number, which is here, the number 23, times by a single digit, the number 6. You need to write your answer in the box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. Now, to be able to multiply, there are 2 key facts you need to know. So you could use the column method, which is the traditional way of multiplying, or you could use the grid method. Now, in the exam, if it's worth 2 marks, you must use the column method in order to get a method mark. The grid method doesn't give you any marks, but if you get the answer fully correct, then you will get marks regardless. So if the answer is correct, it doesn't matter which method you use. So we're going to start off with the traditional method. But have a go yourself first. Try the question, write it down with pen and paper. When you've got yourself an answer, then just press play. Now, some people will be able to just look at it and know the answer or work it out in their head. The majority of people will need to show their working. Fantastic. So here's the traditional method. We're starting with 23 times by 6. Remember, put them in the same column. So my 1s go in the same column. My 10s go in the same column. We always start with the right hand side as with addition, and we start with 6 times 3, which is 18. Now we're going to carry the 10 from the 18. Now it's personal preferences where you carry. I prefer to carry above, some people prefer to carry below. It's no difference, it's personal preference as to where you put that 10. So we're carrying 1, and then we've got the 8 1s. Now we're going to look at 6 times by 2, but this 6 is actually a 6 times by 20 because it's 23. But we can think of it as 6 times 2, which is 12, plus the 1, which gives me 13. Now when we put it at the front, because we're putting it before this 8, it is 130 because we were multiplying by 20, not just by the 2, because it is 23. So your answer is 138. You'll need to pop it in the box to get the full marks. Or you could have used the grid method. Now, when we use the grid method, we have to partition what we're looking at, the numbers. So the number 6 is just for number 6, but 23 needs to be separated into the 10s and the 1s. So we've got 3 1s, and then on the 10s, I've got 20 10s. So we write the number 20. So 23 is the same as 20 plus 3. So we're going to start off by doing 6 times 20 to start with. So we're going to do 6 times 2 is 12, add a 0 because we're multiplying by 10, or all the digits move one place to the left. So that's 120. And then we've got 6 times 3, which is 18. The two answers you've got, if you take these two answers and add them together, that will give you the answer. So 0 plus 8 is 8, 2 plus 1 is 3, and 1 plus 0 is 1, which gives us the same answer we got here. Make sure you put it in the box to get your full marks, and give yourself a big tick if you got it correct. Well done. As I said, it doesn't matter which of these two methods you prefer to use, as long as you can get the correct answer. Now, some people will know that multiplying by 6 is the same as multiplying by 3 and then multiplying by 2. Now, if you multiply 23 by 3, 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 3 is 6, so you've got 69. Now, when you multiply by 2, that is the same as doubling it. So if you double 69, you're going to end up with 138. It gives you exactly the same answer, whichever method you choose to use. Whether you do it in your head, whether you write it down, as long as you can get the right answer and you can get there, it doesn't matter which method you use. The mark scheme says the answer is 138 for 1M, which is one method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe, and so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on subtraction. We're going to look at subtracting 4,532, take away 19. You need to write your answer in the box provided, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts. You need to write in columns and then subtract. So you need to line up the correct columns. Remember, in your column headings are thousands, hundreds, tens and ones. So if we look at this one, we've got 4,000, 500, 3 tens and 2 ones. So they're the headings. Remember, when you subtract, always start with the right hand numbers, so the digits in the ones column. And if you can't subtract the number, so say you've got 1 take away 5, you can't do that. You have to borrow from the next tens column up. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer yourself, and then press play when you've got yourself an answer. Fantastic, so hopefully you've managed to work out the answer. So the easiest way to do this is to write it out in columns. Now, some people will be able to look at this and just know the answer straight away without having to write anything down, but most people will need to write down their method. So when we write it down, we put the ones on the right, then we've got the tens, we've got the hundreds, and we've got the thousands column. So we start with the ones column on the right hand side, and we're going to do 2 take away 9. Now 2 is smaller than 9, so we can't do that, so we need to borrow from the next column. So we're borrowing from this 3, which is a 30, so we're going to borrow a 10 from the 30. So we cross the 3 out, and we're going to make it a 20, so a 2, so it's going to be 10 less than what it was before. So we're going to put a 10 into this column here. So we've now got a 10 in front of the 2, so we've got the number 12. So basically you cross the 3 out, make it 1 less and put it as a 2, and it will always work like that. And you always put a 1 here because you're borrowing 1 10. So we've now got 12 take away 9, which we can do. So you can either work backwards from 12 counting down to get and take 9 off, or you can count up from 9 to get to 12, whichever way you prefer to do it. You get the answer 3. Then we've got 2 take away 1, nice and easy, it's just 1. 5 take away nothing is written there, so that is just 5. And 4 take away nothing is also 4. So here is my answer. Now remember, when you write your answer, you need to put the comma in. Now if you're not very good at writing a nice, neat, tidy comma, it's probably worth missing it out. But the mark scheme does say there should be a comma in there, but make sure it is a nice tidy comma, not looking like a 1 or anything too large. Now this question could be done by doing it in a different method. Now if you've got the number 19 here, you could think, oh, I'm going to take away 20. So if I take away 20, because that's what, if we round 19 we get 20, we can get 4,500 and take 20 from 30 is 10, so that's 12. So we get 4,512. Now 19 is one less than 20. So because it's one less than 20, I then need to add on an extra 1 because I've taken away 20 and added 1 makes 19. So take away 20 give you 12, add on the 1 gives you 13. That's how you could do it in your head to get the answer 4,513 rather than doing it the written way. It doesn't make a difference which method you use in the exam as long as you can get the right answer and you're quick. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 4,513 for 1M, which is one method mark. If you found this video useful, please share and tell your friends so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on multiplication. We're going to be looking at doing 3 times by 391, which is the same as 391 times by 3 because multiplication is commutative. It means it doesn't matter the order you multiply numbers together in, it will give you the same answer. Remember, write your answer in the box provided here. This will give you 1 mark in the exam. Our key facts are that we need to use the column method or the grid method if you're using a written method, or in this case here, because you're multiplying by 3, some children might like to think this is adding 3 lots of 391, so they might find it quicker to do 391 plus 391 plus 391. But it is better to get practiced at using the column method for the multiplication, because if it is worth more than 1 mark, you need to go to the column method to get any method marks later on. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and once you've got yourself an answer, press play. Fantastic. So we're going to start off with the column method. So I've got 3 times by 1. So remember the 1's columns line up first, and 1 times 3 is 3. 3 times 9. Now remember, when you do your 9's times table, you can use your fingers. So because you're multiplying by 3, if you hold your hands up in front of you and put the 3rd finger down on your left hand, you have got 2 fingers to the left, which means 20, so 2 10s. And to your right, you've got 7 fingers, which are the 1s. So it's 27. So we carry the 2 up here. Now it doesn't matter whether you write the 2 above or below. Some people prefer to write it below, some people prefer to write it above, and the 7 comes in here. Next I've got 3 times 3, which is 9, plus the 2 takes you to 11, which gives you the answer 1,173, and that needs to get written in the box here. The second method is using the grid method. So we need to partition this number 391 into 300, 90 and 1, because I've got 300s for 300, I've got in the 10s column I've got 9, so that's 90, and in the 1s column I've just got a 1, and I'm multiplying that by 3. So I've got to multiply 3 by 300. Now 3 times 3 is 9, and if you're multiplying by 100 you need to move the digits 2 places to the left, which is also the same as adding 2 zeros on the end, which gives me 900. Then I've got 3 times by 90. Now 3 times 9 is 27, and then I've got a 0 because I'm multiplying by 90, so I add a 0 on the end to give me 270. Or you could have started with that 27, multiplying by 10, both the digits move 1 place to the left, which gives you the 270. I've then got 3 times 1, which is 3, and then I need to work out the answer and then put it in the box. So once you've got these 3 numbers here, we then need to add these numbers together. So that is going to give me 900 plus 270 plus 3. So adding this column up here, I've got 0 plus 0 plus 3, which is 3. I've got 0 plus 7 is just 7. Then I've got 9 plus 2, which gives me 11. and then writing the answer in the box gives me this number here, and that is your correct answer. So give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 1173 for 1 mark, which is 1M. If you found this video useful, please tell your friends and share, and so we can all get great at maths together. This is a question on subtraction. Now don't be put off because there is a box before the question. When you do subtraction or any equation, if you work out the answer to this question here, the answer could be put on the left or it could be put on the right. Normally see it on the right, but it is exactly the same if you put it on the left. So basically you've got to work out the answer to 9,171, take away 530. Answer needs to go in this box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts are that you need to use columns when you're subtracting. So use your columns when you subtract. Remember your thousands, your hundreds, your tens and your ones columns. Make sure they all line up. And then you're going to start with the ones on the right hand side. So this is your ones column, your tens, your hundreds and your thousands. And remember, if you can't subtract the number, so for example it was 2 take away 5, you can't do that, then you have to borrow from the next number at the top. So I'll show you how to do that on this question. Now press pause, get yourself a pen, paper, have a go at writing down the answer to this and showing your working as to how you get the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So to start with, we're going to write it out in column notation with the hundreds, the thousands, the hundreds, the tens and the ones all above each other, and we're going to start on the right hand side. So nice easy start because we've got 1 take away 0, which is just 1. Then I've got 7 take away 3. So if you need to, count on from 3 to get to 7 is 4. So 7 take away 3 is 4. Next we've got 1 take away 5. Now you cannot do 1 take away 5 because 5 is bigger than the 1. So you would go into negative numbers. So to deal with that, we have to borrow from this 9. So this 9 is a 9,000, but we're going to borrow from there, take 1 10 away from that 9,000 to make it an 8. And then the 10 comes into this column here to make it 11. So I've got 11 take away 5, which is 6. And I've got 8 take away 0 is 8. So your answer is 8,641. Make sure you write it in the box, and remember after your thousands you can put a little comma in to show you the difference between the thousands and the other numbers you've got there. Make sure your comma's nice and small so it doesn't look like a 1. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 8,641 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, tell your friends and like and subscribe, and so we can all get great at maths. Thanks for listening. This is a question on division, and in this question we have got to divide 6,600 divided by 6. The answer needs to be written in this box here, and it's worth 1 mark. Now your key facts to be able to do division are to use the bus stop method, and you need to write each digit in a different box. So you can see the squares here, each of these different squares, write each of the numbers in the squares provided. Now some children will be able to look at this question and just know what the answer is. Other children will need to write it down. So it just depends on how visual a learner you are, or if you need to write it down as to whether you can get the answer straight away or not. Press pause, get yourself a pen and paper, have a go at writing down how to do it and working out the answer, and then press play when you've got yourself an answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've had a go at having the answer to this question. So we're going to start off by using the bus stop method. Now we're divided by 6, which means 6 goes at the front of the bus stop. That's what we're dividing by. The number we're dividing into is the one that goes underneath the bus stop. So we've got 6,600 underneath. We're now going to say how many times does 6 go into the first digit here, which is into 6. So 6 fits into 6 once. So that goes above. We do the same on the next one. 6 into 6 goes once. Write it above. 6 into 0 is 0, and 6 into 0 is 0. So your answer is 1,100. Now some children will just be able to look at that and think 6, 6, they are both 6's, so this will be a 1, 1 and then 2 zeros. They'll just be able to look at it and know the answer. Other children will need to write it out just to be able to clear their thoughts and to be able to work out the answer. It doesn't matter which way you do it as long as you get the answer, because it's only worth 1 mark. Well done if you managed to get that correct. Give yourself a big tick. Fantastic work. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 1,100 for 1M, which is 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, tell your friends, make sure people know about these videos and spread the word, please. Hopefully we can all get great at maths by doing this. Thank you very much. This is a question on multiplication. And in this question, we have got to multiply 3 digits together, or 3 numbers. So we have got the number 99, the number 10, and the number 1. Now it doesn't matter what order you multiply things in, you will always get the same answer. So if you did 1 times 10 times 99, it's the same as 99 times 10 times 1. It doesn't matter the order you multiply these numbers in. Once you've got your answer, you need to write it in the box here, and this will give you 1 mark. Now your key facts, you need to remember that when you multiply by 10, you need to move the digits 1 place to the left. So the numbers are going to get bigger. So you've got your hundreds, you've got your tens and your ones column, and then the numbers from the ones will go into the tens, the numbers from the tens will go into the hundreds, and in the gap you need to put a 0 in because you've multiplied by 10 because there's nothing in that column anymore. And then you need to remember when you multiply by 1, a number doesn't change. So 5 times 1 is 5, 10 times 1 is 10. The answer is always what you started with. Now press pause, have a go at working out the answers to this. A lot of you will be able to just do this in your head, but if you need to write anything down, feel free to write it down on paper to help you move the digits over. Press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. Okay, so this question, we've got 99 times 10 times 1. So we're going to look at our headings, 9 times 10, hundreds, tens and ones. And we're going to put 99 in the correct column. So we've got 9 tens and 9 ones. Now we're going to multiply it by 10 first, which means the digits here have got to move 1 place to the left. So this 9 here moves to the tens column, and the 9 in the tens column moves to the hundreds column. So this 9 goes to the hundreds, the 9 from the ones goes to the tens, and in the gap we just put a 0. So we've got 990. Now we've now got to do 990 times 1. Now anything multiplied by 1 is the number you started with. So 990 times by 1 is just 990, and you need to write it in the box. Give yourself a big tick if you got it correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question is 990 for 1M, which is 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please tell your friends, share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on adding decimals. Now in this question we have got to add together 7.68 plus 13.493. You've got to write your answer in the box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts are that we need to write the numbers down in columns, and then we're going to add them. So you've got your tens, which is here, you've got your ones, which is this one, you've got your decimal point, then you've got your tenths, hundredths and thousandths column. So you need to line all the digits up in the right place, and then you can add them. Remember, we always start on the right hand side with the ones column or the lowest level. So in this case here, it is the thousandths column. Press pause, have a go at getting pen and paper, write down the question, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to write down the question. So you should have written 13.493 and 7.68 underneath each other where the decimal point lines up. So the decimal point lines up, so that means the 7 is below the 3, the 6 is below the 4, and the 8 is below the 9. And we have got a gap here. So if we get a gap in any of the numbers, we could just put a 0 in just to hold the place value because there are no thousandths on the 7.68. So we're now going to add 3 plus 0 is 3. 9 plus 8. Now we know double 8 is 16. Add one extra on gives you 17, or you could count on if you need to, but you will get 17. Remember, we're going to carry the 10 from the 17, and that can be carried above or below the line. Personal preference as to where you prefer to put that carry in. Next, we've got 4 plus 6, which is a number bond to 10, plus the extra 1 gives me 11. So we're going to carry the 1 over here, and the 1 for the 11 comes down here. So we've got the number 11. Now we've got a decimal point. So we need to just put the decimal point to retain the place value of that number. Then I've got 3 plus 7, again a number bond to 10, plus the 1 gives me 11 again, so I'm going to carry the 1 and write the other 1 down beneath. But I've got 1 plus 1, which is 2, which gives me 21.173. Remember to write your answer in the box here, and that will give you the mark in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 21.173 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a multiplication question. We're going to look at multiplying 9 by 752. Now it doesn't matter whether you do 9 times 752 or 752 times 9 because multiplication is commutative. It means it doesn't matter the order you multiply numbers together in. The answer needs to go in this box here, and this is worth 1 mark in your exam. So your key facts. You need to use the column method or the grid method. And it's personal preference which way you prefer, or some children will be able to think about multiplying by 10 and then taking off one lot of 752. It depends on the ability of the child and which way they prefer to work. So press pause, choose your method as to which way round you would like to work this, and then press play once you've got yourself an answer. So fantastic work. Hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. Now I'm going to start off with the column method. So I've got 752 times by 9. So I'm going to start on the right hand side here. So I'm going to do 9 times 2 is 18. So I've got 1 and then the 8. Now it doesn't matter where you carry a 1, whether you carry it above the line or whether it goes below the line. You get exactly the same result. Then 9 times 5 is 45 plus the 1 gives you 46. So we're going to carry the 4 and put the 6 underneath. Then 9 times 7 is 63. Plus the 4 gives us 67. So our answer is 6,768. So that is using the column method. Now, if the question is worth more than 1 mark, you will only get a method mark for using this notation. There is an alternative method which some students find easier to use. It's personal preference as to which way you do it. Is where we have to partition this number 752. So we have to split the 700 up into a 700. The 5 becomes the 50, and the 2 is in the ones column is just a 2. So we now need to multiply each of these 3 numbers here by 9. So 9 times 7 is 63, and we've got multiplying by 700 rather than 7, so we have to add 2 zeros on the end or move the digits 2 places to the left from the 63 to get the answer 6,300. Next I've got 9 times 50. So we're going to work out 9 times 5, which is 45, and then we're going to add a 0 because we're multiplying by 10. Then I've got 9 times 2, which is 18. Once I've got these 3 digits here, these 3 numbers, I'm going to add them together. So I've got 0 plus 0 plus 8 is 8. 5 plus 1 is 6. 3 plus 4 is 7. And 6 is just the 6 at the front, which gives me the same answer, 6,768. Choose the method that works for you best. You could have multiplied this number by 10 by adding a 0 on the end and then subtract 752 to give you the same answer as well. You choose which method works for you. If you got it correct, give yourself a big tick. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer 6,768 for 1m, which is one method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a division question, and we could use short division to answer this question, or some children will be able to look at this question and just know the answer straight away, and I'm going to show you how to do both methods. So the question says we have got 640 divided by 8, and the answer needs to go in this box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts are that you need to know to be able to use the bus stop method when you see division. As I said, some people will be able to do the bus stop method, other people will need to write it out, and other people could just think of it. Write each digit in each box. So you can see the squares here, each of the individual boxes. Write each number in the boxes, makes it easier and clearer to see you're working. Press pause, have a go at working out your answer, then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we're going to start with the bus stop method, and then I'm going to show you how to do it with the bus stop method and then without. So we're going to look at dividing by 8. What you're dividing by goes at the front of a bus stop. What you're dividing into goes underneath the bus stop. So 640 goes underneath. We now need to do 8 into 6, which doesn't go. So now we're looking at 8 into the next number. But because it didn't go into 6, we have to say how many is left over. So whatever number is here is what is left over. So we carry that up here as a little 6. So whatever number was here for the first time is the number that appears there, because it was into 6, didn't fit, so there are 6 left over. So we're now 8 into 64. Now you should know your 8 times table. Remember, there's a little rhyme for your 8 times table. I ate and ate till I was sick on the floor. 8 times 8 is 64. So remember that little rhyme. That will help you to know that 8 times 8 is 64, or 64 divided by 8 is 8. Then 8 into 0 is 0, and this is your answer up here, 80, that you need to write in the box. Now some children will look at this and think 64, I know 8 times 8 is 64. So if that is the case, it goes in 8 times, add a 0, just becomes 80. So some children will just be able to look at that and write down the answer straight away. If you can, absolutely fantastic. If not, this is the method to do if you can't see it straight away. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme of this question shows the answers 80 for 1m, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, tell your friends so we can all get great at maths together. This is a question on subtraction, and in this question you've got to work out the answer to 357 take away 89, and you need to write your answer in this box here. Now don't let it put you off, because the box is before the question. Normally you get a question and then after your question you write your answer. But it doesn't matter if you have the answer first and then the question, or the question and then the answer. You still get exactly the same answer, and it doesn't matter whether you write it before the question or after the question. So basically all you've got to work out is 357 take away 89 and put your answer in this box. That will give you 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts. You need to write your numbers that you've been given in columns and then subtract. So you need to know your thousands, hundreds, tens and ones places. And you need to start with the column on the right hand side, which is the ones column. So the 7 and the 9, that's where you're going to start. Remember, always the biggest number goes on top. And if you can't subtract, remember you have to borrow from the next column if you can't do the subtraction. For example, 1 take away 5 goes into negative, so you can't do that, so you have to borrow. Press pause, get yourself a pen and paper and have a go at writing down how to do the answer and get an answer. Once you've got an answer, press play to hear how to do it and check you are correct. Fantastic. So hopefully you've managed to work out the answer to this question. So we're going to start off by lining up the 357 above the 89, where you've got your ones column, your tens and your hundreds. We always start on the right hand side, so we're going to look at 7 take away 9, which we can't do. So it means we have to borrow from the next column here. So we have to borrow 10 from this 50 here. So we're going to cross out the 5 and we're going to make it a 4, and we're going to borrow a 10 to make it now 17. So we had 50, we've now got 40, and we're borrowing a 10 into here. So we've got 17 take away 9. Now when you take away 9, sometimes people find it easier to count on from 9 to get to 17. So to get from 9 to 10, you add on 1, and then from 10 to 17 is 7. 1 plus 7 is 8. So 17 take away 9 is 8. Next, we've got 4 take away 8. Now we can't do 4 take away 8, so we have to borrow from the 3. So we're going to cross that out and again put a 2 because that's 1 less than the 3. And we're borrowing a 10, and that comes in front of this number here to leave me with 14. I've now got 14 take away 8, so you can count backwards from 14 to take away 8. Or from 8 to get to 14, you add 2 more onto 8 to make 10. And then 4 more to make 14. 4 plus 2 is 6. And then you've got 2 take away nothing, which is 2. So our answer is 268, which needs to get written in this box here. And that will give you the 1 mark in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. Fantastic work. The mark scheme shows the answer here for this question as 268 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe. Tell your friends all about the video so they can do well as well, so we can all get great at maths together. This is a question on division. This question we have got to do 561 divided by 3, and you need to write your answer in the box, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. Now we know that this number here divides by 3 because if you added the digits together of 5, 6 and 1, so 5 plus 1 is 6, 6 plus 6 is 12, 12 is a multiple of 3, that means this number here divides exactly by 3. So it's useful checking to see if it's going to go into decimals or not. And if in your GCSEs, when you come on to harder maths, they ask you if a number is divisible by 3, you will know it's divisible by 3 because if you add these digits together, it is a multiple of 3. Now your key facts for division. Use the bus stop method. Some children will be able to look at a question and know the answer. Most children won't in this case here. So you need to use the bus stop method. And second of all, you need to write each digit in the box. So each of these numbers here is called a digit, and you need to write each individual digit in a box or one of the squares to make it easier to see your working. Press pause, get yourself a pen and paper, have a go at working out the answer, and then when you've got an answer, press play. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we're going to start off with the bus stop, and we're divided by 3. So that is the number that goes in front of the bus stop, and the number we're dividing into goes underneath the bus stop. So we've got 561. So we start here with the number 3, and we say how many times does 3 go into 5? Now 3 fits into 5 once, so that number goes at the top. Now to get from 3 to 5, we have to add on 2. So that's how many's left over. So there's a remainder of 2, so we write a little 2 up here. We've now got 3 into 26. So you should know your 3 times table. So 3 eighths are 24. So you should put an 8 at the top. And to get from 24 to 26, we have got a remainder of 2 again. So the remainder gets written up here. So I've got another 2. So this is now the number 21. I'm now going to do how many times does 3 go into 21? You should know 21 divided by 3 is 7. So your answer is 187, and that needs to get written in the box here. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done, big thumbs up. Comment below and let me know how you did. Great work. Hopefully you managed to get the answer 187. The 1M means 1 method mark. Give yourself a big tick. Write in the comment box below to let me know how you found this question. And if you found this question useful, please share with your friends, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on multiplying fractions. In this question, we have got to multiply 4 over 6 times by 1 over 8. You need to write your answer in the box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. Now your key facts. When you multiply, your answer will be a fraction. So you start off with a fraction. The answer you need to write in this box here will also be a fraction. And to do it, you need to multiply the numerators, which are the numbers at the top, multiply the denominators, which are the numbers underneath, and that is your answer. Then, if you can, cancel down the answer. So make sure you follow these steps. Now on this question here, there is an alternative way of doing it. So you can cancel the fraction and then multiply. And I'll show you how to do that if you're unsure on this other method. The mark scheme will give you full marks for just multiplying the 2 numerators and the 2 denominators and leaving your answer in that form there. But there is a simpler form where you've cancelled, which is the better answer, which you'll need for when you go up to do higher level maths. So press pause, get yourself a pen and paper, write down the question, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we're going to follow the first method over here, which says multiply the numerators and multiply the denominators. So the numerators are 4 times 1, the denominators are 6 times 8. Now 4 times 1 is just 4, and 6 eighths are 48, so the answer is 4 over 48. If you wrote that in this box here, you would get the mark in the exam. But 4 over 48 are both even numbers, and in fact they can both be divided by 4. So you need to look at a number that is common to both of these numbers, and the highest multiple or highest factor that goes into 4 and 48 is the number 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 48 divided by 4 is 12, so your answer is 1 over 12, and that is the better answer to put in the box. Now the second method here says cancel and multiply. So this only works if you have got opposite pairs which have got a multiple of each other that are the same. So if you look at this diagonal here, 6 and 1, because 1 is a prime number, it's the lowest number you can have that's positive, there is nothing that goes into 6 and 1 other than 1. But if we go the other diagonal, there is a number that goes into 4 and 8, and the biggest number that goes into 4 and 8 is the number 4. You could halve it and halve it again, which is the same. We're just going to divide by 4. So we're going to cross out this 4 here, divide it by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so we'll write a 1 by the side. Then we're going to divide 8 by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is going to be 2. So now we multiply the numbers in the numerator the same as before. 1 times 1 gives me the 1. 6 times 2 is 12. So this is a quicker way to get the answer of 1 over 12 rather than multiplying first then cancelling. It's easier to cancel first and then multiply. So that is a very useful trick, especially when you go on to higher level maths, when you look at doing this in terms of algebra. So you'll have to be able to cancel algebraic fractions as you go on to higher level maths. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer was 4 over 48 for 1m. The answer I gave was the answer over here, 1 over 12. If you'd have divided that fraction, 1 divided by 12, to give you a decimal, 0.83 recurring, I think it is much more difficult to work in decimals rather than working in fractions. So the answer I would be looking for is 1 over 12. It does say here, do not accept any rounded or truncated decimals. So for example, if you'd written 0.08, then you've rounded it. If you wrote 0.833, 0.083, then that has been truncated because you've just got rid of all the other 3's which are behind. And again, it is much more difficult to do the decimals than it is to work in fractions. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Remember, tell your friends. This is a question on division. Now you have got to work out the answer to 630 divided by 7. Now normally you get the question and then the answer appears afterwards, but sometimes you get a box and then the question. It is exactly the same process you go through regardless of whether the answer box is before the question or after the question. You get the same answer, it's just where you put it. So the answer to 630 divided by 7 can be written at the front of the question or at the end of the question, and you get exactly the same answer. This will give you 1 mark in the exam once you've written your answer in this box. Now your key facts. But you need to use the bus stop method when you divide. Now, some children will be able to look at this question and just know the answer off the top of their head, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute if you can't spot it. But if you struggle to spot that, then you need to use the bus stop method and write each digit in the boxes that you can see, each little square here, to make it easier to see your working and make it nice and clear. Now press pause, get yourself a pen and paper if you need to, write down the answer to this question. You can either do it in your head or get it written down depending on what's easier for you. Press play when you've got an answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we've got 630 divided by 7. So we're going to use the bus stop method. So here's my divide. I'm divided by 7, so that's the number that goes at the front of the division sign. And then 630 is what I am dividing by or into. So I'm dividing 630 by 7, so this is how we set it out. So we now say how many times does 7 go into 6? It doesn't fit in, so we put a 0. Now how many are left over? Well, that is the number you start with. So it is the number 6 that's left over because it didn't fit into the 6. So we've now got 7 into 63. Now 7 fits into 63 times. You should know your times tables. 9 times. And then 7 into 0 goes 0. So your answer is 90. Now some children would have been able to do that by looking, because they will know that 63 is 7 times 9. So 63 is in the 9 times table and the 7 times table. So they would know if they divide 63 by 7, you get 9. You've got a 0 on the end, so just add the 0 to give you 90. So that's how some children would do it just by looking at it. Personal preference as to which method you prefer. Remember, in the exam you are on a time limit, so you've got to try and do these questions as quickly as possible. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 90 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe. Tell your friends so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on adding decimals. Now in this question we have got to add together 7.68 plus 13.493. You've got to write your answer in the box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts are that we need to write the numbers down in columns and then we're going to add them. So you've got your tens, which is here. You've got your ones, which is this one. You've got your decimal point, then you've got your tenths, hundredths and thousandths column. So you need to line all the digits up in the right place and then you can add them. Remember, we always start on the right hand side with the ones column or the lowest level. So in this case here, it is the thousandths column. Press pause, have a go at getting pen and paper, write down the question, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to write down the question. So you should have written 13.493 and 7.68 underneath each other where the decimal point lines up. So the decimal point lines up, so that means the 7 is below the 3, the 6 is below the 4 and the 8 is below the 9. And we have got a gap here. So if we get a gap in any of the numbers, we could just put a 0 in just to hold the place value because there are no thousandths on the 7.68. So we're now going to add 3 plus 0 is 3. 9 plus 8. Now we know double 8 is 16. Add 1 extra on gives you 17, or you could count on if you need to, but you will get 17. Remember, we're going to carry the 10 from the 17, and that can be carried above or below the line. Personal preference as to where you prefer to put that carry in. Next, we've got 4 plus 6, which is a number bond to 10. Plus the extra 1 gives me 11. So we're going to carry the 1 over here and the 1 for the 11 comes down here. So we've got the number 11. Now we've got a decimal point. So we need to just put the decimal point to retain the place value of that number. Then I've got 3 plus 7, again a number bond to 10. Plus the 1 gives me 11 again. So I'm going to carry the 1 and write the other 1 down beneath. But I've got 1 plus 1, which is 2, which gives me 21.173. Remember to write your answer in the box here, and that will give you the mark in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 21.173 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on multiplying. Now the question asks us to multiply 2,671 times by 1,000, and you've got to write your answer in the box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. Now your key facts are that when you're multiplying by 1,000, you need to move the digits 3 places to the left. So each of the digits of this number here, the ones column moves 3 places to the left, and each of these numbers move 3 places to the left. Remember in your place value holders of your ones, your tens, your hundreds, your thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and million. So have a go at doing this question. Press pause, get a pen and paper, write it down, work out the answer, and then press play when you've got your answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you have got your headings written out and you've written down the number 2,671 in the correct places. So from here we're going to look at each of the digits, and I'm going to start with the 2 in the thousands column, and I'm going to move it 3 places to the left. So it's going to go across 1, 2, 3. So the 2 is placed in the millions column. The 6 is going to move 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. And it goes here. And the 7 moves 3 places. 1, 2, 3. And the 1 moves 3. 1, 2, 3. In the gaps, you need to put zeros in to hold the place value, so we need to put zeros in the missing gaps. From here, this is your answer and you need to write it in the box. Remember to add the commas to help break up the number and to make it easier to read. So you've got 2,671,000, and these are the little commas. Remember, make sure they're not too big, otherwise they look like ones. Now, some children find it difficult to remember whether the number's going to the left or the right. Think if you're multiplying, you're making the number bigger. So wherever you're starting, you're making the number bigger. So it has to go up. So it's going this direction if you're going bigger. And if you're going smaller, it goes the opposite direction. You're dividing, you go to the right, and it gets smaller with the place values. Well done if you got that correct. Give yourself a big tick. Fantastic work. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 2,671 million for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Tell your friends. This is a question on adding fractions. Now we've got to add together 5/12 plus 1/3. The answer needs to get written in the box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. Your key facts are that you need to be able to find a common denominator, preferably the lowest common denominator. Then you need to find some equivalent fractions. Add your numerators. The denominator will stay the same. Remember, the denominator is the number at the bottom and the numerator is the number at the top. And then you need to cancel down your answer. So press pause, see if you can follow through these steps, and then press play when you've got an answer. So get yourself pen and paper, write down your working on how to get the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've started by thinking about the common denominator. Now you look at the two numbers, you've got the number 12 and 3, which are the two denominators. Now 12 is the larger number, which means that 12 doesn't fit into 3. So we're going to start with 3. Does 3 fit into 12? Yes, it does. So the lowest common denominator of these two numbers is the number 12. So I want you to imagine you have got 12 sections. Now 5 out of 12 is literally 5 out of 12. So that is 5 of those sections coloured in, and that is that initial fraction, 5 out of 12. Then we're looking at 1/3 we're going to be adding on. Now 1/3, if you look here, I've got 4 along here and 3 down. Now 3 times 4 gives me the 12. So 1/3 of that, I've got 1 section going along, 2 sections going along, 3 sections going along. So 1/3 is one of the sections going along. So one line going across is 1/3 of this shape, splitting it into 3. Now I've coloured in 1, 2, 3, 4 squares, which is the same as 4 out of 12. Now some people will need to draw a diagram to help you work the answer out, but preferably as you get better you won't need to draw the diagram and you can just do it with the numbers. So if we think, what do I do to 3 to get to 12? We multiply by 4. So 3 times by 4 gave me 12. So that means I need to do the same to the numerator. 1 times by 4 gives me the 4. That's where the 4 over 12 has come from, multiplying both of these numbers in the second fraction by 4 in order to make the denominators the same. So these two denominators are now the same. Now when the denominators are the same, I've got 12 sections in total. 5 of them are in orange, 4 of them are in pink. How many sections are there in total coloured in? If you add 5 plus 4, that gives you 9. So we have got 9 out of 12. Now that will give you 1 mark in the exam for writing 9 over 12. And we have done step 4. But the last step says cancel your answer. Now both of these numbers can be divided by a number to cancel down. And the number that goes into 9 and 12 is 3. So 9 divided by 3 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. So 9/12 is the same as 3/4. And if I'd have coloured these squares in differently, I could take this square from here and bring it into this one here. And this square here, bring it in here. You can see I've got 1, 2, 3 lots of 4 coloured in. So 3/4 is coloured in. So that is the answer that needs to get put in the box. So remember, we just divided both these numbers by 3. So 9 divided by 3 was 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4 to give me an answer of 3/4. Give yourself a big tick if you got 3/4. Fantastic work. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 9 over 12 for 1m, which is 1 method mark. The better answer is given this cancelled down form of 3/4, which is written over here. Decimals are allowed, so if you wrote 0.75 instead of writing 3/4, but you cannot round your answer. So if you rounded this to 0.8 or just wrote 0.7 because you've just truncated and taken the last digit off, that is not allowed, so you will not get the mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get greater at maths. This is a question on adding fractions. We're going to be looking at adding 2/3 and 4/5 together, and you've got to write your answer in the box provided here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts are that we need to find a common denominator. So the denominator is the number at the bottom here. So what number is common to 3 and 5 in this case? Step 2 is we need to find equivalent fractions. So once we know the common denominator, we've got to find a fraction that is equivalent with that new denominator. We're then going to add the numerators together. So the numerator is the number at the top. We're then going to keep the denominator exactly the same. And then you're going to cancel your answer if you need to. Press pause, have a go at getting pen and paper, working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we're going to look at our step 1, which is finding a common denominator. So 3 and 5. 5 is the bigger number, so 5 cannot fit into 3. So we're going to start with 3. Does 3 fit into 5? No, it doesn't. So the next number in the 3 times table is 6. Does 6 fit into 5? No. And 5 doesn't fit into 6. So we keep going up. And if you think about it, the lowest one that is going to be in both is going to be 3 times 5, which is going to be 15. If you're unsure on what the common denominator is, if you just always multiply the denominators, that will always give you a common denominator, not necessarily the lowest common denominator. So in this case, 3 times 5 is 15. So we're going to draw out 15 boxes. Now we're looking at 2/3. So if I come along this side here, this is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, splitting it up. So 2/3 are the top 2 rows. So I've coloured in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sections. So 2/3 is the same as 10 over 15. Now to do this without drawing the diagram out, is we've got to say 3 times what gives me 15. So 3 times 5 is 15. So 2 times 5 is 10. So whatever you do to the denominator, you need to do to the numerator, and we're timesing both of these numbers by 5. So 3 times 5 is 15, 2 times 5 is 10, so 10 over the 15 is equivalent to 2/3. Now most of the diagram has already been taken up here, and 4/5 is going to be over half of the diagram, so I'm going to draw a new diagram for the 4/5. So if we look coming down this way, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections. So 4/5 is going to be 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this first section here coloured in 4 out of the 5 sections. So if we count along, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 times by 1, 2, 3. 4 times 3 is 12, or you can count up all those squares to see you've got 12 squares out of 15. Now the 12 squares comes from, you can see from the diagram, again without using the diagram, we know that 5 times 3 is 15, so 4 times 3 is 12, that's how we do it without using the diagram. The next step says we add the numerators, so 10 plus 12 is 22, so we've got 22 out of 15, so this is going to be over 1 whole one. So adding the numerators gives me 22 over 15. Splitting this up, if I draw out the two diagrams again, I colour in the 10 sections I've got here. And then I'm going to do 5 at the bottom down here. So if I take 5 off of here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections. So I've got 5 and then 7 left. So I've got 1 whole one here and 7 out of 15 left. So that is the same as 1 and 7 over 15. Now to do that without the diagram, we say how many times does 15 go into 22? So 15 into 22 goes once, so we've got 1 whole one. And then to go from 15 to make 22, so basically 22 take away 15 is 7, which gives you the 7 out of the 15. The denominator's always the same. So your answer needs to go in this box here, 1 whole one and 7 over 15. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done, great work. The mark scheme on this question shows the answers 1 whole one and 7 over 15 or 22 over 15. Either of those answers are acceptable for the 1M, which is the one method mark. I would get used to writing your answer as a mixed fraction because that will help you for GCSE when you go on higher level maths. The 22 over 15 is the easiest way to get the mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question of multiplication and we're going to be multiplying a 4-digit number, 6,312 times by 14. We need to write the answer in this box here and it's going to be worth 2 marks in the exam. So your key facts are that you can use the column method or you can use the grid method to multiply. But beware, if you use the grid method, if you get the answer correct, you'll get 4 marks, but you will not get 1 mark if you make a mistake. You have to use the column method to be able to get the method mark. So press pause, have a go at working out the answer using whichever method you want to use, and then press play when you've got the answer. Fantastic. So we're going to start off with the traditional column method. And we start on the right hand side, so we do 4 times 2 to start with, which is 8, gets written underneath. Then we start with the 4 again, so we're multiplying the whole of this top number by the 4. So the 4 times the 1 is 4. We're going to do the 4 again times the 3, which is a 12. Then we're going to carry the 1. Now it's personal preference whether you carry the 1 above or below. It doesn't really make a difference, you'll still get the same answer. I prefer to carry above. And then we put the 2 down here. And then 4 times 6, 6 4s are 24, plus the 1 is 25. Now we're going to be multiplying everything by this 1 here. But this 1 is not just a 1, it's a 10. And when we multiply by 10, we put a 0 on the end, so we have to put a magic 0 down here. So don't forget to add your 0. So we're now doing the 1 times by the 2, or this 10, it was a 10 times 2, is 20, or 1 times 2 is 2. So it says the number 20 now, and a 2 here. Now we've got 1 times 1, which is just 1. 1 times 3 is 3, and 1 times 6 is 6. Once we've got these two numbers here, we have to add them together. So 8 plus 0 is 8, 4 plus 2, 6, 2 plus 1, 3, 5 plus 3, 8, and 2 plus 6 is also 8. And that will give you 1 mark for using this method and making a mistake in here somewhere. So if you made a mistake within here, you would get 1 method mark. Using the grid method, we split up the number using the place value. So this is the number 6,312. So we've split it up into 6,300, 10 and a 2. And then the number 14 gets split into 110 and 4 ones. So we're now going to multiply 6,000 by 10. Remember, when you multiply by 10, all the digits of this number move one place to the left, or we just add a 0 on the end if there's no decimal. So the 6 moves into the tens of thousand column, so it becomes 60,000. Then we've got 10 times 300. Again, all the digits move one place to the left, or we add a 0 on the end, which gives you 3,000. 10 times 10 is 100. 10 times 2 is 20. Now we need to multiply all the numbers by 4. So we're just going to look at the numbers first. So we've got 4 times 6,000. So if we do 6 times 4 and then add on the 3 zeros is the easiest way to do it. So 4 6s are 24, add on the 3 zeros is 24,000. Then I've got 4 times 300. So again, we're going to do 3 times by 4 and add on the 2 zeros. So that's going to be 1,200 or 1,200. 10 times 4 is 40. And 2 times 4 is 8. We then need to add together all these numbers in green together. We're going to start off with the 60,000 and the 2,400. We're going to combine these two here, so 3,000 plus 1,200. 3 plus 1 is 4, so that's 4,200. 100 plus 40 is just 140. 20 plus 8 is 28. And we're going to add these numbers. So again, adding up all the zeros and the 8 is an 8. 4 plus 2 is 6. 2 plus 1 is 3. 4 plus 4 is 8. 6 plus 2 is 12. 6 plus 2 is 8. So we can see we've got exactly the same answer as what we had before. So that gives me an answer of 88,368, and that will give you 2 marks for getting the full answer. Remember, after your thousands answer, put a comma in and make sure everything is nice and clear. So this isn't too big, so you can see the number clearly. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. It is a question that is appearing on the SATs all the time, so make sure you can do a 4-digit number multiplied by a 2-digit number. It is coming up time and time again, so make sure you know how to do these types of questions. The mark scheme here says we'll award up to 2 marks, so up to 2M, which is 2 method marks for getting the correct answer. If the answer is incorrect, you can get 1 mark for using the formal method. So this is the column method of long multiplication with no more than 1 arithmetic error. So you can make 1 mistake. So here's a mistake here or a mistake here. As long as you only make 1 error, you can get 1 method mark. But it has to be done through the formal method to be able to get the mark. If you've forgotten the place value error, so if you've forgotten the 0, you will not get the mark. So you cannot get any marks if you forgot to put that 0 in at this stage here. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on adding, but it's not just a normal adding question because you've got this number here which looks slightly different. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what it says to start with. I want you to think about it, see if you can remember what this means. And then remember, you need to put your answer in the box and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So see if you can think about it before I give you any help. If you can, press pause, get yourself an answer written down and then press play when you're ready to hear some more information or hear whether you check to see if you got it right. If you need a little bit more help, here are some key facts. Now remember this part here of the number, okay, this is a cube number. So this is 3 to the power of 3, which means 3 cubed. So when you've got a cube number, you multiply the number itself 3 times. So whatever number it is, so for example here, 1 cubed means 1 times 1 times 1. Now 1 times 1 is 1. Times it by 1 again, you also get 1. So be careful that you know how to work out 1 cubed, that it is 1, it is not 3. So press pause, now you know how to work out a cube number. Write down your working, get an answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've come up with an answer. So we're going to just start off with this 3 cubes, which means 3 times 3 times 3. Now 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3 is 27. So 3 cubed is 27. Now for your GCSE, you'll be expected to know your cube numbers up to 5 cubed without a calculator. Some students will just remember what the cube numbers are. Some students need to work it out because they can't remember what those numbers are. So to work it out, remember, work out these first 2 times together to give you 9, times that by 3, gave you the 27. Now we've just got to do the 2 plus this 27, which is going to be 29, and that's the answer that needs to get written in the box. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done, great work. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 29 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on dividing, and we've got to divide 15.5 by 100. The answer needs to get written in this box here, and it will be worth 1 mark in the exam. Now your key facts, you need to look at the place value. Now when you divide it by 100, because there are 2 digits, 2 zeros after the 100, you are going to be moving these digits 2 places. Now because we're dividing, the number is getting smaller, so that means the 1 is going to go smaller, so it's got to go 2 places to the right. So you're going to be moving each of the digits 2 places to the right when you divide by 100. So it goes to the right because you're making it smaller, and you're moving it 2 places because there are 2 zeros after the 1. And you need to look at your place values. So you've got your hundreds, your tens, your ones, your decimal point, your tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and tens of thousandths. So press pause, have a go at working out your answer, write it down on a bit of paper, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've got your headings out and you've got the 15.5 with the 1 being under the tens, the first 5 being under the ones, and the last 5 being under the tenths column. Now the digits are going to move 2 places to the right. So we're starting with the 1, and if you're unsure which is left and right, you're making it smaller. So it's going from the tens column and it's got to go smaller, so it goes to the ones column, that's 1 place, and again to the tenths column, that is 2 places, so it's moved 2 places to the right. Then this 5 here will move 1, 2 places to the right, and this 5 will move 1, 2 places to the right. Now your answer is not 155 because 155 is bigger than 15.5. So remember, you've got a decimal point in here. The decimal point stays in exactly the same place. And at the beginning, to hold the place value of the value, you need to put a 0 in. So your answer is 0.155. You can see here 0.155 is your answer for the 1 mark. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 0.155 for 1M, which is 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Now in this question, you have got to work out the answer to 90 take away 56 divided by 8, and the answer gets written in this box here, and this is worth 1 mark in the exam. Now some children will just be able to look at that and work out the answer straight away. Other children will make a mistake because they get the order wrong, and the order is really important that you do these calculations in order to get the correct answer. Now to help you remember the order that you have to do the calculations in, you need to remember something called bidness. Now our key facts are that the B stands for brackets. There are no brackets in this question here, so it's irrelevant in this question here. The I stands for indices or the power, so that's if you've got a squared or a square root or cube, something like that. Again, no indices in this question. The D stands for divide, and we have got a divide in this question, so that is the bit you're going to do first. And that's where people make a mistake, because they don't do the divide first, they do the subtract first, because that is what is in the order first. So you have to do the divide section first. The M stands for multiply, A stands for add, S stands for subtract. So you've got to look at the two calculations we've got, a subtract and a divide, and the divide comes before the subtract. So have a go at working out the answer. Press pause, write down any working you need to as you go along, and then press play when you've got an answer. Fantastic, well done. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we're going to start off with the divide first. So it says 56 divided by 8, and you should know that 8 goes into 56 7 times, just from using your multiplication facts, knowing that 7 times 8 is 56. Then we've got to do 90, take away the answer we've just worked out, because we know 56 divided by 8 is 7, so we have to do 90, take away the 7, and taking away 7 from 90 gives you 83, which is your 1 mark in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 83 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Remember, tell your friends. This is a question on subtracting. Now the question says we have got to do 63 take away 5.8, and you need to write the answer in the box provided, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. Have a go at doing the question if you think you know how to do it already. If you need to hear a little bit more, then just listen. So to help you out, your key facts are that you need to write the values in columns and then subtract. So you need to make sure you get the column headings lined up in the correct place. So your hundreds are along the same column, the tens, so in this case you've got your tens, your ones, and then your decimal point lines up, and then the tenths line up. So make sure you know your column headings for your place values, make sure you line them up correctly, and then have a go at subtracting. Press pause while you get yourself pen and paper, and then have a go at working out the answer. Then press play when you've got yourself an answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've managed to line up the numbers correctly. So you've got 63 over 5.8. Remember, the ones line up, the tens is just on its own, and the tenths is just on its own here. Now because we have got a 0.8 underneath, we need to fill in this gap at the top. So we're going to put in 0.0, because 63 is the same as 63.0. 0 doesn't change the value of that number. So we're going to have a look at now subtracting. So we always start on the right hand side when we subtract, and we look at 0 take away 8. Now we can't do 0 take away 8, so we have to borrow from the 3. So we cross out the 3 and we take 10 from it and make it a 2. And we put the 10 in here. So we've now got a 1 at the front to make this the number 10. So I've borrowed a 10 from this 3. So I've got 10 take away 8, which is 2. The decimal point still stays in the same point. Now I've got to do 2 take away 5. Again, I can't do 2 take away 5, so I need to borrow from the 6. So I cross out the 6, and then I'm going to write a 5. And then I've got to do put a 10 in here, so I've now got 12. So 12 take away 5 is 7, and 5 take away nothing is 5. So your answer is 57.2. Now some children will be able to look at this and do 63 take away 3, which will give you to 60, take away another 2 to take you to make the 5, which will give you 58. And then take away 0.8 from 58 will give you 57.2. So some children will just be able to think it through in their head. Other children, it is easier to write it down and quicker to get the answer more accurately if you get it written down. Give yourself a tick if you got this correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 57.2 for 1M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on long multiplication, and you've got to work out the answer to 418 times by 47. Your answer needs to get written in this box here, and it is worth 2 marks in the exam. Now on the left hand side it says show your method, and that means show your working. So whatever you write down on the paper is how you get the answer. That is called your working. Now there are 2 main methods to be able to do long multiplication, and that is using the column method or using the grid method, and you will need to show some working out to be able to get this answer, unless you're as clever as Matilda and you can just work the answer out in your head, which is highly unlikely. So we're going to start off on the right hand side when you do multiplication, but before I go through it I want you to have a go at doing it yourself. So get yourself a pen and paper, whiteboard, a Chromebook, whatever you want to write on to show you're working out to get yourself an answer to this question. Press play when you're ready to hear the answer. So have a go at getting the answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've managed to get an answer, and we're going to start on the right hand side. So 7 times 8 is 56. Okay, so we've got the 5 and then we've got the 6. So this is using the column method to start with, which is your traditional method, which is the one which will give you 1 mark if you make 1 mistake as you do this. The grid method doesn't give you a method mark if you make a mistake. Next we've got 7 times 1. Now 7 times 1 is 7 plus the 5 is the 12. Now remember, we multiply all the numbers at the top by this 7 down here first. So we've done 7 times 8, 7 times 1. So now we've got to do 7 times 4, which is 28 plus the 1, which gives you 29. We've now got to multiply all the numbers at the top by this 4. But this isn't just a 4, it's a 40 because this is 47. So we're multiplying by 40, and we know when we multiply by 10 we just add a 0 to the end because all the digits move 1 place to the left. So I add the 0 to the end here because we're multiplying by 40. Now I do 4 times 8 is 32, so I carry a little 3 and put the 2 down. Again, it doesn't matter where you carry, whether you carry above or below, you will end up with the same answer. It's personal preference where you carry. Then 4 times 1 is 4, plus the 3 is 7. 4 times 4 is 16, and that is your second number, so 418 multiplied by 4. You could have just doubled 418 and doubled it again. You'd have ended up with 1672, and add the 0 because it's multiplying by 40. Now we've got these 2 answers here, we need to add them together. So 6 plus 0 is 6, 2 plus 2 is 4, 9 plus 7 is 16, so again we have to carry the 1 and put the 6 underneath. Again, you could carry above or you could carry below, it gets the same answer. Now we're adding together 2 plus 6 plus 1, which is 9, and 1 on its own is just 1, and that will give you 1 method mark for using this method and making 1 mistake. If you forgot to put the 0 in, you won't get a method mark, so that 0 is really important that you remember to hold the place value. Now using the grid method, we need to split this number up 418 by partitioning it. So we've got 400, which gets written here. The 18 is 110 and 8 ones, so that's 110 and 8 ones. Then I've got the number 47, which gets split into 4 tens and 1 7. So we've got 47. From here we need to multiply the numbers in the grid. So we've got 40 times by 400. Now 4 times 4 is 16, and you've got 1, 2, 3 zeros on the number, so you've got 3 zeros at the end. Because if you multiplied 100 by 10, you get 1,000, so it's 16,000. 40 times 10 is 400, so 1 times 4 is 4, add the 2 zeros, gives you the 100. And 40 times 8, 4 times 8 is 32, add the 0 is 320. Next I've got 7 times 400, so 7 times 4 is 28, add 2 zeros is 2,800. 7 times 10 is just 70, and 7 times 8 is 56. Once we've got these numbers here, we're going to add them together. So we've got the 1,600 plus the 2,800. Now 400 plus 70 is easy, 470, so I'm just going to write that together. The 320 and the 56. Add those all together. So I've got 6 on the end starting on the right hand side. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 7 is 14, or double 7 is 14, so I'm going to carry a 1 and put a 4 down here. I've got 8 plus 4 is 12, plus 3 is 15, plus 1 is 16, so again carry the 1 and 6 underneath. 6 plus 2 plus 1 is 9, and the 1 goes here. So you can see I've got the same answer using two different methods, and that answer needs to get written in the box. It's personal preference as to which method you use. I would recommend this one is because where the marks are awarded for method marks on the mark scheme. Give yourself a big tick if you got this correct. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the question is worth up to 2m, which means up to 2 marks. Now you get 1 mark if you make an error using these two methods here. So there's an example here of how you could get a mark. This is where the answer is here, 19,646. Over here it says do not award if you have missed the 0 out of this stage here. So if the 0 is here and here, that's fine, but the 0 being missed, you don't get any marks. So it's really important you hold the place value of that 4 to be 40 to get the mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on subtracting fractions. Now we're going to look at doing 6 over 7 take away 11 over 21. You need to write the answer in the box here, and that will give you 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts: when you subtract, you need to find your common denominator, preferably the lowest common denominator. So if you look at the two numbers at the bottom, these are the denominator, and you need to decide which one is the lowest common denominator. Then you need to find equivalent fractions, so change these fractions so they're equivalent, so the denominator is now the same. And then you're going to subtract your numerators, so the numbers at the top of the fractions are your numerators. Your denominator will always stay the same, and I'll explain why in a minute. And then you need to cancel your answer. Now press pause while you get yourself pen and paper or whatever you want to write on to have a go at working out your answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you looked at these denominators and you've decided your common denominator was the largest number here, which is 21. Now the reason it's 21 is because you've got to think, does 21 fit into 7? No, it's not. So 21 is the biggest number here, so you've got to look, does the 7 fit into 21? Yes, it does. So because 7 fits into 21, that is your common denominator. But if you did 7 times 21 to give you 147, that is also a common denominator, but my lowest common denominator, which is the same, is going to be this 21. So if I draw out 21 squares, so I've got 7 going along the top and 3 going down, 7 times 3 is 21, I've got 21 squares here. I'm now going to look at 6/7. So if I split this up into 7 sections, I've got 1 section, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections, and I want 6 out of the 7 sections, so I'm going to colour that in. So I've got 6 of these coloured in. Now if I count that up, I've got 6 times by 1, 2, 3, 6 3s are 18. That is 18 out of 21 squares is equivalent to 6 over 7. Without drawing the diagram, you could say, what do I times 7 by to get 21? You multiply it by 3. So that means I multiply both these numbers by 3. So 7 times 3 is 21, 6 times 3 is 18, so I've got 18 over 21, take away the 11 over 21, which is what the question says, because the denominator is now the same, so we leave the denominator the same, and this fraction here stays the same because it's already over 21. If I cross out 11 squares, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 squares been crossed out, I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this one down here, 7. I'm left with 7 out of 21. So 18 take away 11 is 7, so I'm left with 7 squares out of the 21. Now the denominator stays the same because the number of squares I started with, 21, remains the same. Now 7 is a multiple of 21, so we can cancel this fraction down. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3, so my answer is 1/3, and make sure you write that in the box provided. The mark scheme will allow a mark if you wrote 7/21 or 1/3. Either of these two answers will give you the correct answer and correct marks. Give yourself a tick if you've got this correct. Well done. So mark scheme says the answer is 7/21 for 1m, which means 1 method mark. You can cancel the answer down to get 1/3 by dividing both these numbers by 7. And 1/3 is equivalent to 0.3 recurring, which means 0.333, etc. But it says do not accept a rounded answer. So if you wrote the answer 0.3, that is not accepted because you've rounded it. Or truncated decimals means if you've removed all these 3's at the end and just got rid of the last digits, then that's not accepted either. So make sure you've written your answer as a fraction for the easiest way to get the answer. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on dividing fractions. Now we've got to do 7/10 divided by 2. We've got to write the answer in this box here and it will give you 1 mark in the exam. Now our key facts to help you do that. We need to think of KFC. This is the main way to help you remember or how to do dividing fractions. So as soon as you see any fractions with a division, think KFC. So the K stands for keep, the F stands for flip, and the C stands for change. So we're going to look at the steps and how KFC can help us. So this question here, we're looking at dividing by a whole number. If you're dividing by a whole number, you need to write this whole number as a fraction before you start. Now remember to convert any number to a fraction. If you divide it by 1, the number will stay the same. So for example, 5 divided by 1 is 5. So 5/1 is the same as 5. So write this number here as a fraction and then you can go on to use KFC. So step 2 is the beginning of KFC, which is the keep. So we write down the first fraction. So you're going to write down the first fraction that's given. The F stands for the flip, which means we're going to swap the second fraction upside down. So this second fraction you've got here, you're going to write next to it with a bit of a gap in the middle and flip it upside down. And then the C stands for change. And we change this divide symbol in the middle to a multiply. You're then going to multiply your numerators as you do for normal fractions, remembering the numerators are the numbers at the top, and then the denominators are the numbers underneath. So we're going to multiply the denominators. You then need to cancel your fraction if it will cancel. Now get yourself a pen and paper, press pause, and then have a go at working out the answer. When you've got an answer, press play to hear the answers. So you see if you've got the answer correct. Fantastic. So hopefully you've managed to use KFC to help you work out the answer to this question. So first of all, it says write the number as a fraction. So we're going to write this as over 1. So 2/1 writes it as a fraction. We're then going to keep the first one. So the K is for keep. So we're going to keep the 7/10. We're now going to flip. So we're going to flip the second fraction to become 1/2 rather than 2/1. And then we're going to change. And we're going to change this to be a multiply in the middle. Now I'm going to multiply by numerators, so step 5. So 7 times 1 is 7. And then I've got 10 times 2 for my denominators, which is going to give me 20. So my answer is 7/20. This will not cancel down because there is a number that goes into 7 and 20. So this answer needs to get written in the box here. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done, and remember to keep remembering KFC to help you divide fractions. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 7/20 for 1m, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Remember, tell your friends. This is a question on subtracting fractions, and in this question we've got a mixed fraction, 2 3/8 take away 5/8. We need to write the answer in the box and this will give us 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts, we need to convert our mixed fraction into an improper fraction or a top-heavy fraction, so the numerator is larger than the denominator. We then need to find a common denominator. If you look in this case here, you can see the denominator, which is the number at the bottom, is exactly the same. So that step has already been done in this question. We then need to find equivalent fractions. Again, in this case, we don't need to do that because the denominator is already the same. Then we're going to subtract the numerators, which are the numbers at the top. The denominator remains the same, so that's the number at the bottom. And then you need to cancel down your answer if it will. So press pause, have a go at working out the answer, then press play when you've got an answer. Fantastic. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. Now we're just going to start out by drawing what we've got, 2 3/8. So 2 whole ones is going to be 1 whole one, 2 whole ones, and 3 sections out of the next one, out of the third one. So 2 whole ones and 3/8 looks like this. So I've split myself into 8 sections, so you can see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 2 whole ones and 3/8. So from here we can see that we're going to convert this to an improper fraction or a top-heavy fraction. So in here I've got 8 sections here plus another 8, so 2 8s are 16, plus 3, 17, 18, 19. I have got 19 over 8. Now to do that without drawing a diagram, what we need to do is in 2 whole ones, we say 8 times 2 is 16. So there's 16 parts in 2 whole ones, add on the 3 gives me 19. So that's how we do it without a diagram. Then we're going to take away the 5 over 8. Now when we take away the 5 over 8, we're going to get rid of 5 squares. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares is what we're going to get rid of. And we're left with 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 squares. And if we did 19 take away 5, we get 14, so that is the same as 14 over 8. Now we need to convert this back into a mixed fraction. So we can see here I've got 1 whole one, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections out of 8 left. Without the diagram, you say how many times does 8 go into 14, which is once. 14 take away 8 is 6, which leaves me with 1 whole one, 6 over 8. Now 6 and 8 are both even, so we need to halve these numbers. So half of 6 is 3, half of 8 is 4, because 2 is a common number that goes into 6 and 8, leave me with 1 whole one and 3/4. Now that will give you the mark in the exam. Now I'm going to show you an alternative method. So instead of writing it as a top-heavy fraction, which most people will find the easiest to do, we can think of 2 whole ones as being 1 whole one plus 1 whole one, because 1 plus 1 is 2, plus the 3/8, take away the 5/8. Now 5/8 is bigger than 3/8, which is what is causing the problem on this question here. We can't just do 3 take away 5. So we do know that 5 is the same as 3 plus 2. So if I take away 3/8 from here, this bit will disappear and I'll be still left with 2/8. So it's the same as 1 plus 1 take away 2/8. So that's basically this part of the diagram here. I've taken away the 3/8 here, this bottom section, and I'm now in this top section here. So I've got 1 whole one plus another whole one, take away the 2/8. Now if you do 1 whole one take away 2/8, so you can see here 1 whole one take away 2/8, we are left with 6/8. So that is 1 whole one and 6 over 8. So that is this top section here. Now 1 and 6/8 converts or cancels down to 1 3/4 again, which is the answer here, which will give you 1 mark. Now if you'd have gone from this answer here, 14 over 8, and cancelled the answer here to give you 7 over 4, that would have also given you a mark in the exam, but it is really important you remember to cancel. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. Remember, cancel your answer down as full as you can, or as far as you can. The mark scheme on this question shows the answers 1 3/4 or 7 over 4. So these are the two answers that's accepted. For 1M, which means 1 method mark, it says equivalent fractions, mixed number fractions or exact decimal equivalents are accepted, but do not accept rounded answers. So if this had been rounded to 1.8, that would not be allowed. Truncated means just ignoring the 5 off the end, so 1.7 would also not be accepted. So it must be an equivalent. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Remember, tell your friends. This is a question on multiplying, and we're looking at multiplying a decimal by a whole number, which is 26. So 0.7 times 26, We need to write the answer in the box here, and this will give us 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts, we need to do the multiplying without the decimal, so we're going to ignore the decimal to start with. So basically we've multiplied the number by 10 to ignore the decimal. And then if we divide the final answer we get by 10 to take it back to be the 0.7, that will give you the answer. Remember, when you multiply or divide by 10, you have to think of your place values, your hundreds, tens, zeros, or your ones and your tenths to move them. So it moves bigger, so it goes to the left if you're multiplying, and it gets smaller or goes to the right if you're dividing. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. Hopefully you've managed to get an answer. Well done. So looking at this question here, we're going to ignore this 0 point, and we're just going to look at the 7. So basically we're multiplying this number by 10 and doing 7 times 26. Now when we do 7 times 26, we start on the right hand side. Now 7 times 6 is 42, so we've got the 4 and then the 2. 2 times 7 is 14, plus the 4 gives me 18, so I've got 182. We could have done it using the grid method. So we split the 26 up into 20 and 6, multiplying them by 7. 7 times 20, so we do 2 times 7 is 14, add a 0 because we're multiplying by a 10 to give you 140. And 6 times 7 is 42. Add those two answers together. 0 plus 2 is 2. 4 plus 4 is 8. And 1 on the beginning is 182 as well. But we multiplied this 0.7 by 10 to make it 7, so we now need to divide by 10 in order to make it 0.7. So we're going to do 182 divided by 10, and that will give me the final answer we need to write in the box here. So remember your place values. The 182 gets written in the right columns, and we're now divided by 10. So each digit is going to get smaller because we're divided by 10, and it's going to move 1 place because we're dividing by 1 0. There's 1 0 after the 1, so it moves 1 place to the right. So the 1 becomes in the tens column, the 8 goes to the ones column, the 2 goes to the tenths column, and there's a decimal point in here that needs to be added in the middle, and that gives me the answer of 18.2 for 1 mark. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done, fantastic work. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer as 18.2 for 1M, which is 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on long division. Now we've got to work out 34 into 986, or basically 986 divided by 34. It says you must show your method here on the left side, which means you must show your working out. The answer must go in the box here, and this will give you 2 marks in the exam. If you know how to do it, crack on, get an answer straight away and see if you're right a little bit later. I'm going to show you the method to be able to do this. So we're going to be using the bus stop method, which is obvious because it's already set out using the bus stop method. Now you've got a choice of long or short division. Now primarily we really should be doing long division, but some students find long division very difficult and confusing. So I'll show you how it can be worked as short division. And just to help you make it nice and easy, write each digit in a box. So each of these little squares, write each number in each of the little squares to help you set your work out. Now we're divided by 34, so it's really handy if you can write down the 34 times table before you start, because it makes it much easier as you're working through. So press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So we're going to start off by writing down our 34 times table. So we're going to do 34 plus 34, so double 34, double 4 is 8, double 3 is 6, so I've got 68. So to find the third term, I'm going to add 34 onto the second term, so basically adding these two numbers here. 4 plus 3 is 12, so it ends in a 2. 6 plus 3 is 9, plus the 1 gives me 102. Now to find the fourth term, I can either double the second term or add on 34 to the 102. So 4 plus 2 is 6, 3 plus 0 is 0, and 1 at the front, so it's 136. If you double 68, double 8 is 16, double 6 is 12, plus the extra 10 gives you 13 for 136. You get the same answer. Now we're going to add 34 onto 136, or you could add together your second and your third term because 2 plus 3 is 5 and we're trying to work out the fifth term. I'm just going to add 34 onto the last term because that's the way the majority of people will just work it out. 4 plus 6 is 10, so that's the number belonging to 10. And then you've got 3 plus 3 is 6, plus the extra 10 is a 7, and another 100, so you've got 170. Then adding on 34 to this one, 4 plus 0 is 4, 3 plus 7 is 10, a number belonging to 10, plus the extra 1, so I'll give you 204. Then adding 34 on again, 4 plus 4 is 8, 3 plus 0 is 3, and the 2 at the front, 238. And again another 34, 8 plus 4 is 12, we've got the 3 plus 3 is a 6, plus the extra 10 is a 7, so that takes you 272. So 4 plus 2 is 6, 3 plus 7 is 10, a number bond, so it takes this 2 to a 3, so we've got 306. Now this gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You will only be expected to go up to a maximum of 9 terms. You may not need to go as far as 9, depends on what numbers have been given. So if you don't need to go as far as the 9th term, just work out a few to start with, but you may need to go down as far as this. There is a little clue in the end that this last digit is a 6, and if you look through here, you've got a 6 at this point here, and you've got a 6 at this point here, so it could be one of these two numbers. So you could stop at 4, or you may need to have gone down to 9. So we're going to look at long division first. So we're going to set it out using the boxes, and we're going to say 34 into 9. Now 34 doesn't fit into 9, so we now have to look at, so we put a 0 at the top, and then we look at 34 into the first two digits, which is into 98. So 34 into 98, we look over here, 34 smaller, 68 is smaller than 98, 102 is too big. So 68 is the largest number that goes into 98. So we write twice because it's 1, 2, so it's the second time. And then we write 68 underneath. Now 8 take away 8 is 0, and 9 take away 6 is 3. So we've got 30. Now at this stage here, when you do short division, you will have said how many times does 34 go into 98, and then you have to say how many more is there from 68 to 98, which is 30. So this bit here you have to work out in your head when you do the short division, but it just follows the same method as your normal division. Normally when you do short division you have smaller numbers, so it works well with the smaller numbers, but when you get larger numbers, the long division becomes easier to help you work out your answer. Now this number here will never go into this one here because this is a remainder. This is how many is left, what is left over, like the remainder. So because we've only got 30 and 34 doesn't fit into it, we have to bring down this 6 here to make the number 306. So we're looking at how many times does 34 go into 306. So we come and look over here, look down, and you can see it goes in exactly down here. Now that was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th time. So it goes in 9 times exactly. So we write 306 underneath, and when you subtract them, you will find you get the answer 0. If it doesn't come down to the answer 0, you've made a mistake somewhere. So you can guarantee your answer is correct here because it comes down to the value 0. So make sure you always come down to this 0. This question was worth 2 marks. So if you make a little mistake doing this method, you will get 1 mark. But to get the full marks, you need to get the answer at the top here, which is 29. Now doing short division, we've got the question set out the same. We start off again the same, 34 into 9 doesn't go. Now how many is left over is 9, so that gets written in here. That's how we write it as short division. Here we just said how many went into 9. It didn't fit in, so then we went to 98. It's exactly the same principle. So 34 into 98 we know goes twice. You can see it up here, 1, 2, 68. So from 68 to 98, so we've got 78, 88, 98. So it goes in, there's 30 left over. So we write the 30 in here. And that was the same as this 30 here. When we did 8 take away 8 is 0. 9 take away 6 is 3. So we've just written it out rather than just thinking about it in our head, because 30 is a big remainder to work out. We've now got to do 34 into 306. You can look down here, 306 is at the bottom again. We knew it went in 9 times, so the answer is 29, and that's the number you need to put in the box here. The mark scheme will give you a method mark for using this method here for the long division. It does make it easier to do the subtractions with large numbers using long division, but some children just prefer the short division method because it follows on from what you've done before. So make sure you know which method you prefer and you can get the correct answer. Give yourself a big tick if you got it correct. Well done. The mark scheme does show the answer is 29 for up to 2n, which means up to 2 method marks. You get 1 mark for doing long division like this with an error, or you get an error at the top because you haven't worked it out correctly, or using the short division like I just showed you with the remainder of 30 in there and making a mistake in here. Either of these methods will give you 1 mark, so make sure you show you're working out. If you found this video useful, please like, share and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Remember, tell your friends. This is a question on the percentage of amount. We're going to look at working out 99% of 600. And we're going to write the answer in the box here, and this will give me 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts. We need to follow the following steps, but before we do that, we just need to understand what a percentage is. Now remember, a percentage is out of 100. On the grid here, you can see there are 100 squares because there are 10 going down and 10 across. So 10 times 10 gives me the 100. So this is a 100 square grid. Now 1% is 1 little square. So each square on this grid is equivalent to 1%. So often when we start off working things out, we work out 10%, which is basically 10 of these squares, which is 1 strip. So to find 10%, we're going to divide by 10 because the whole amount here, 100, to find 10%, we're going to divide it by 10, which gives me 1 strip. Now this question wants us to work out 99%, which is basically 99 little squares. So we've got to work out the value of 99 little squares when all the squares here are equivalent to 600. So to do that, we first of all find out 10%, which is 1 strip. We then multiply that by 9, which gives me 90%. So that gives me the whole of this area here for 90% in here. That gives me 90%. I then need to work out 1%, which is 1 little square. Now, if I've got 100 squares in total, to find one value of 1 square, if I take my whole amount and divide it by 100, that will give me 1%. Or you could take the answer you got for 10%, which was 1 strip, divide that by 10, that will also give you 1. So it's often easier to take the answer you've just worked out up here for step 1 and divide that by 10, that will give you 1%. So that's one of these squares. Once you've got one of these squares, then you're going to multiply by 9 because that will give you 9%. And then if you add your answer for 99%, to find 99%, you're going to add 90% plus 9% to work out how much 99% is. Or you could have found 1% and then multiplied your whole number by 99. There are different ways of doing it, and it will always give you the same answer. Or, because we're working out 99%, that's all of the squares but 1 square missing. So if we work out 1%, so find 10% and then find 1%, so divide by 10 and divide by 10 again, then to work out 99%, you could do 100%, which is all of it, take away 1 little square, which will give you 99%. It's personal preference as to which way you prefer to do it. And at this stage here, we're looking at non-calculator methods in order to find percentage of amount. There are a quick way to do it on the calculator as you do different methods. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic, so 99% of 600. Hopefully you've got an answer and we're going to check whether you've done it correct. So we're going to first of all find 10%. So remember, 10% is 1 strip, that's 10 squares. The whole thing is equivalent to 600. So to find out what 10 squares is equivalent to is we're going to divide by 10. That will give me the value of one strip. So one strip is equivalent to 60. So this little section here is equivalent to 60. Now we want to work out 99%. So we're going to work out 90% next. So if I times 90% answer, which was 60, times it by 9, that is going to give me this whole area here. This is 90%. So 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 6 is 54. So this is equivalent to 54. Then I'm going to work out 1%. So 1% is one of these little squares. So I'm going to take the answer I got here for 10%, which is 60, and divide that by 10. Remember, when you divide by 10, all the digits move one place to the right. So that is 6. So that is one little square up here is equivalent to 6. So the whole thing was 600. One square is 6. So 600 divided by 100 gives me 6. From here, I can now work out 9%. So 6 times 9, that gives me this strip here, 9%. So 6 times 9 is 54. And if I add my answer for 540, which is the pink area, plus the purple area, which was 9%, which is 54, that will give me the total answer of 594. So you've got 4 at the end, 5 plus 4 gives you the 9, and 5 at the front, 594. The alternative method is to use your 10% answer, your 1% answer. So we know 1% is this remaining square here is equivalent to 6. And we want to work out the pink and purple area. We know the whole thing is 600. So if I do 600 take away the 6, that is also 594, exactly the same answer. And we need to write that in the box. It doesn't matter which way you do it, it's personal preference. You can see by working out this one doing the subtraction, it's actually much quicker, but it's being able to spot that our 99 is 100 take away 1. So think about which way works for you. Give yourself a big tick if you got this correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answers 594 for 1m, which is one method mark. Be careful when you're working out a percentage of amount, your answer is not a percentage, it is a number. So if they give you money, it's a monetary value. If it's just a number, it's a number. You cannot put a percentage at the end, otherwise you get the wrong answer. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Remember, tell your friends. This is a video on dividing fractions. We've got to work out 1/2 divided by 3. Your answer needs to get written in the box here, and this is worth 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts. When you're dividing, you need to think about KFC. So the K stands for keep, the F stands for flip, and the C stands for change. So this little mnemonic here will help you remember how to divide fractions. Now your steps. The first step, you need to write the whole number as a fraction. So this whole number here needs to be written as a fraction. Now remember, to write anything as a fraction, you need to divide by 1. So for example, 5 is the same as 5 divided by 1, because 5 divided by 1 is just 5. So always, if you divide by 1, it will turn it into a fraction. Now this is for K, for keep. Write down the first fraction. So we're going to keep the first fraction. That's our first bit in the KFC, the keep. The second bit is flip. So we're going to swap the second fraction upside down. So we're going to flip this second fraction upside down. So that's the K, the F, and the C. Is we're going to change the divide sign to a multiply. So that is my K, F, C, step 2, 3, and 4. So we change the divide to a times. Then you need to multiply your numerators. Now the numerator is the number at the top of the fraction, and then we're multiplying the denominators, and the denominator is the number at the bottom of the fraction. Then you'll need to cancel down your answer. So multiply the top numbers, and that goes at the top. Multiply the bottom numbers, that goes underneath. Cancel your fraction. Press pause, get yourself a pen and paper, work out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic. So Hopefully you've managed to have a go at doing this. So step 1 says write this as a fraction. So we've got 3 over 1. So we're now going to do KFC. So the K stands for keep. So we're going to keep the first fraction, which is 1/2. F stands for flip. So we're going to take this second fraction and we're going to flip it. So it becomes 1 over 3. Then we're going to change the divide to a times. Now I've got to do the multiply the numerators. So 1 times 1 is 1 and 2 times 3 is 6. So the answer needs to get written in the box here and that will give you 1 mark in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 1/6 for 1m, which means 1 method mark. You are allowed to use decimals, so 1/6 is equivalent to 0.16 recurring, so this means 66666. But it says do not accept rounded decimals. So if you wrote 0.17 or even 0.2, that is not accepted. Truncated means just get rid of the last digit. So if you just got rid of the last digit and wrote 0.1, then that wouldn't be accepted either. So it is much easier to work in fractions than decimals, but they do accept decimals. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Remember, tell your friends. This is a question on finding percentage of amount. We're looking at finding 43% of 900. We need to write the answer in this box here and this will be worth 1 mark in the exam. So when we're looking at percentages, our key facts are that we need to remember a percentage is out of 100. So the whole of this square here is equivalent to 900. So the whole amount, which is 900, is equivalent to these 100 squares that you can see on this grid. We've got 10 down this side and 10 across the top, and 10 times 10 is 100, which makes it a 100 square grid, which is 100%, which is the maximum that we're going to be looking at. And you've got to work out 43%. So every single square in here is 1%. So we've got to work out what the value is of 43 of these little squares. And I'm going to show you different ways in how to work this out without a calculator. So to start with, we're going to look at finding 10%. So if 100 is the whole lot of it, 10% is 1 strip. So we've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. So this is counting along up in 10. So each strip is equivalent to 10. So if you take your whole amount and divide it by 10, that will give you the value for 1 strip. We've got 43%, so you're going to have to work out 40%. Okay, so to find 40%, once we've got 10%, if you multiply it by 4, that will give you 40%, so that will give you the space here, 40%. Then if we can work out 1%, so that is one of these little squares, by dividing the answer, you've got the 10% by 10, so 10% is 1 strip. So if you divide it by 10 again, that gives you 1 value here, 1 little square. So dividing the 1%, the 10% answer by 10 gives you the 1%. And then to find the 3%, we've got to multiply that answer by 3 to give us the 3%. If we then add the answer we've got for 40% and 3% together, because we've got an area of 40% and then a little bit of 3%, if we add those two bits together, that will give me 43%, and that will give you the answer here. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, get yourself a pen and paper, write down your working, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we're going to start off by finding 10% of 900, which is the same as doing 900 divided by 10. Remember, when you divide by 10, the digits move one place to the right, or it's the same as taking a 0 off the end if there's no decimal points involved. So this one strip here is 10%, and that is going to be 90 divided by 10, which is 900 divided by 10, which is 90. So this strip here is equivalent to 90. We now need to work out 40% of 900. So if one strip is 90, we want to work out 4 strips because we want 40%. So one strip is 10, 20, 30, 40. So we've got to work out 90 times 4 to work out what 40% is, this section here. So 4 times 0 is 0. 4 times 9 is 36. So it's 360. So this pink area here is equivalent to 360. So that is 40%. We've now got to work out the 3%. So to do that, we're going to start off by finding 1%. Now to find 1%, we know one of those strips, which was the 10%, was equivalent to 90. If I divide that by 10 again, that will give me one of the little squares, because the whole strip was 90. Divided by 10 will give me the value of one little square. Remember, dividing by 10, digits move one place to the right, which just gives me 9. So 90 divided by 10 is 9. That is one of these little squares. But we want 3%. We want 3 of these squares. So we've got to multiply that number we've just worked out, 9, by 3 to get 43%. So 9 times 3 is 27. We've now got to work out 43%. So the pink bit is 40%, the purple bit is 3%. If I add those two together, that gives me the 43%. So that's 360 plus 27 is going to be 43%. So we've got the ones column, you've got a 7. In the tens, you've got 6 plus a 2, which is an 8, and a 3 in the hundreds. So it's going to give me 387. And that answer needs to get written in the box here. If you got this correct, give yourself a big tick. Well done. Have a look at the diagram. Make sure you understand what you're finding and follow through these steps, and you can't go wrong. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answers 387 for 1M, which is one method mark. Over on the right hand side here, it says do not accept 387%. So you're working out a percentage of an amount, which could either be a monetary value or just a number. If you put a percent sign on the end, it makes it wrong because you're not finding a percentage, you are finding a value of that number. So they just want the answer 387. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. Remember, tell your friends. This is a question on subtracting fractions. We've got to do 2 1/6 take away 2/3. We've got to write the answer in this box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts for subtracting. We need to first of all convert into a mixed fraction from a mixed fraction to an improper fraction. So this first fraction here, which is a mixed fraction because it's got whole numbers and a fraction, that's called a mixed fraction. Improper means the top number is bigger than the small number. So it's a top-heavy fraction or an improper fraction. Step 2 is to find a common denominator. So look at the denominators. These are the numbers at the bottom. What is the common denominator for both of the numbers that are here? So think about which is your lowest common denominator. Then you've got to find equivalent fractions so the denominators become the same. Then you're going to subtract the numerators, which are the numbers at the top, and your denominator, which is the number at the bottom, will stay the same, and I'll explain why as we go through the video later. Then you need to cancel your answer if it will cancel. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Remember, you can use pen and paper to write down your answer. Fantastic. So we're going to start off by looking at 2 1/6. So that is 2 whole ones. So you can see I've got 2 whole ones and 1/6. So now the reason I've drawn them out in 6 sections here is because it's got a denominator of 6. So 2 whole ones is 1 section, 2 sections, so 2 whole ones, and 1/6 is 1 out of the 6 squares that are remaining. If it helps you to draw a diagram, you can draw a diagram, but you don't need to draw a diagram if you get good at working these out. From here, we're going to convert this into a top-heavy fraction. So we're going to do step 1, converting it to an improper fraction or top-heavy fraction. So my denominator is going to stay as 6, and I'm going to count out how many squares I've got. So I've got 6 in the first diagram, another 6 in the next one, so 6 plus 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. So that is the same as 13 over 6. Now to do it without drawing the diagram, all you need to do is to say in 2 whole ones, you've got to do 2 times 6, which gives you 12. There's going to be 12 sections in 2 whole ones, plus the extra 1 gives you 13. So 2 times 6 plus 1 gives you 13. We've then got to take away 2/3, but we've got to look at our denominators. So we've got 6 and a 3. Now 6 is the biggest number, so 6 won't fit into 3. But does it work the other way around? Does 3 fit into 6? Yes, it does. So the denominator we're going to use is 6. So if I'm looking here at 2/3, I've got 6 sections. Yeah. Split it into 2/3. I've got split it into 3. So 2/3 will be 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So if I split that up at this point here and this point here, 2/3 of 6 is 4. So that is the same as taking away 4 over 6. Now to do that without the diagram, 3 times 2 is 6. So if you do 2 times 2 gives you 4. So whatever you do to the top number, you do to the bottom number. And we're multiplying them both by 2 or doubling them both to get the denominator to be 6. So we're going to take away this 4 over 6. So you can see I've put crosses for the ones that we're taking away. So I've got 13 over 6, take away 4 over 6. You can see I'm left with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 at the top, 7, 8, 9 sections. So I'm left with 9 over 6. If you do 13 take away 4, that is 9. But you can see each bit has got 6 sections, so the denominator doesn't change. The denominator stays at this 6. Now I've got 9 over 6. Now I'm going to convert this into a mixed fraction. So you can see I have got one whole one here. So there's one whole one and 1, 2, 3 sections left. So that is one whole one and 3 out of 6. But I could do it without using the diagram. So I could say how many times does 6 go into 9? It goes in once. So that's one whole one. How many are left? Which is going to be 9 take away 6, which is going to give you 3. So it's one whole one and 3 out of 6. Now 3 over 6 can be cancelled down because there is a number that goes into both 3 and 6. See if you can have a think about what that number is if you haven't got it already. So hopefully you've spotted that you can divide both of these numbers by 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2, which gives me 1 and 1/2. If you look at this diagram up here, you can see I've got one whole one and half of the diagram is left because half has got crosses on, half doesn't have crosses on. So I've got 1 1/2. That is the answer that needs to go into the box here to get the mark in the exam. Now you could have done it an alternative method. We could say that 2 whole ones is equivalent to 1 whole one plus 1 whole one plus 1/6. Take away the 4 over 6 that we worked out here. Now if I do 1/6 take away 4/6, we can't do that very easily. You can see the reason we have the problem is because I've got 1 square taken off of here and 3 from the next one. But you can do it in 2 stages. So you can do 1/6 take away 1/6, which will leave you with 3/6. So 1 from the 4 gives you the 3. So I've got 1 whole one plus 1 whole one take away 3/6. Or 1 take away 4 is -3. So then from that one whole one I've got, you can see from the whole one, if I take away 3/6 from it, so get away this 3/6, I am left with 1, 2, 3 sections. So that is the same as 1 whole one and 3/6, which is the same as what we got here. Again, we'll cancel down to 1 1/2. You could have cancelled your answer down at this stage here and gone to 3 over 2. So dividing both of these numbers by 3, 9 divided by 3 is 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. If you'd have written 3 over 2 or 1 1/2, these two are equivalent to each other, you would have got the mark in the exam. If you got this correct, give yourself a big tick. Well done. Fantastic. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 1 1/2 or 3 over 2 for 1m, which is one method mark. It says you are allowed to accept decimal equivalents, e.g. 1.5, which is the same as 1 1/2, but you are not allowed to accept rounded answers or truncated decimals. So for example, if you'd rounded 1.5 to 2, that would not be accepted. And if you truncated it, so got rid of the last digit off the end, so it was just 1, also that would not be accepted. So make sure you show you're working out, and it is easier to work with fractions than decimals. If you found this useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. In this question, we're multiplying 1 1/4 times by 39. The answer needs to go in the box here, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts, you need to convert the whole number into a fraction. So the whole number here, 39, needs to be converted into a fraction before we can multiply. Now remember, to convert any number into a fraction, if you divide it by 1, it will become a fraction. So 10 divided by 1 is 10. It's the same number, but if you put it over 1, it doesn't change the number, but it just makes it a fraction. Then we're going to convert the mixed fraction into an improper fraction. So you're going to convert this so it becomes a top-heavy fraction or improper fraction. Then the number at the top is your numerator, so you need to multiply your numerators together. And that's the number that comes on the top. And then if you multiply your denominator, which are the numbers underneath, if you multiply those together, that becomes the number underneath. Then you need to cancel your fraction if it will, and convert it back into a mixed fraction, because the question starts in mixed fractions, so the answer is good to have in the same form as the question. Press pause, get yourself a pen and paper, work out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic, so hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer to this. So we're going to start off by writing our 39 over 1, because 39 divided by 1 is still 39. Next, we're going to convert this to a top-heavy fraction or an improper fraction. So in 1 whole 1, you have got 4 quarters. So 1 whole 1 is 4 quarters plus the extra quarter. 4 plus 1 is 5, so that is the same as 5 over 4. We're going to times it by this 39 over 1. Now we need to multiply the numerators, multiply the denominators. Now 5 times 39 is quite tricky, but 4 times 1 is nice and easy as 4. So to do 5 times 39, we can set it out in column method by doing 5 times 9 is 45. So we carry the 4 tens and the 5 goes underneath. You could carry underneath if you prefer. It doesn't matter whether you carry above or below, you get the same answer. Then we've got 3 times 5 is 15. Add on this extra 4 takes you to 19. So we've got 195. Now you can do it in your head. Timesing by 5 is the same as multiplying by 10 and dividing, because 10 divided by 2 is 5, so it gives you the same result. So to multiply 39 by 10, you just move the digits one place to the left or add a 0, which becomes 390. Then you've got to divide 390 by 2, which is the same as halving it. A half of 300 is 150. A half of 90 is 45. 150 plus 45 gives you the 195, so you can do it in your head. So multiplying these top numbers gives me 195. The denominators, 4 times 1 is just 4. Now, if you wrote that down in the box here, that would give you the mark in the exam. I'm just going to show you how to convert this back into a mixed fraction. So to make it back into a mixed fraction, we need to say how many times does 4 go into 195. So a lot of people won't know that off the top of their head, and it would take a long time to work it out by counting up in 4s. So we can do a division on it, because this fraction line here means divide. So I'm going to divide 195 by 4. Now 4 doesn't go into 1, so we put a 0 at the top, and how many is left over is 1, is the same as this first number here. I'm now looking at 4 into 19. 4 into 19 goes 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. To get to 19, you've got 3 remainder. So 16, 17, 18, 19, that's 3. So we carry a little 3. Now I've got 4 into 35. So you should know that 4 times 8 is 32. And to get to 35, you've got to count on 33, 34, 35. Again, it's 3. So we've got a remainder of 3. Now, if we were going to work in decimals, we write the little 3 here, put a decimal point in place, put a 0, and you can carry on working it out in terms of decimal. But we're working in terms of fractions here. So I'm not going to go any further. I just know there's a remainder of 3. Sometimes you might see it written as R3 for a remainder 3. So that means I have got 48 whole ones. So that's the number that goes at the front, 48. And there are 3 remainder. So that is 48 whole ones, which is the number at the top. The remainder is 3, so that's 3 out of the 4, because the denominator stays the same. The answer needs to get written in the box as 48 3/4. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. Tricky question. Make sure you know how to multiply your fractions when you have got large numbers. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 48 3/4 or 195/4 for 1m, which is one method mark. If you'd have written your answer as a decimal, so 48.75, that is allowed, but you're not allowed to round your answer or truncate the answer. So rounding, if you wrote 48.8, that is not allowed for rounding, and if you got rid of the 5 off the end and truncated your answer to get 48.7, that is not allowed. So you must write it out in full and in exact form. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on long division. In this question, we're going to divide 423 by 73. The answer needs to get written in this box and it will give you 2 marks in the exam. So your key facts to be able to do this, you need to be able to use the bus stop method. Then you're going to do long or short division, whichever you prefer to use. I'm going to show you both methods. And remember to write each digit in a box. So you see all the little squares, write a number in each square to make it nice and clear when you set your work out. Now to start with, it makes it much easier if you've written down your 73 times table, because off the top of your head, not many people know their 73 times table, and to work it out every time you're going to do a sum makes it very tricky. So if you just start with writing down your 73 times table, it will save you a lot of time later on. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Remember, this question is worth 2 marks, so it's really important that you show your method, which means writing down your working out in order to get the full marks for the question. Fantastic, so hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So we're going to start off by doing our 73 times table. So we've got 73, so we're going to double 73. Double 3 is 6, double 7 is 14, so we've got 146. We're now going to add 73 onto this. So 3 plus 6 is 9, 7 plus 4 is 11, so one of the ones goes on to this one, becomes a 2. So we've got 219. Then we're going to add on 73 again, or we could just double 146, that will give you 4 times 73. So 3 plus 9, so 9 plus 3 is 12, we're carrying a 1, so we've got 7 plus a 1, which is 8, plus the other one is 9. And then 2 at the front, so you've got 292. Adding on another lot of 73. The 3 plus the 2 is 5. 9 plus 7 is going to be 16, so this 2 becomes a 3, so you've got a 365. We've got 5 plus 3 is 8. 6 plus 7 is 2 6s are 12, plus the extra 1 is 13, so we're going to add an extra one onto the 100 for 300 to make it a 400, so we've got 438. Again, we're going to add another 73, so 3 plus 8 is 11, so we're carrying a 1 on here. 7 plus 3 is 10, so carrying a 1 over for the 4, so we've got 511. Then again, we're adding another 73, 3 plus 1 is 4, 7 plus 1 is 8, and the 5, so 584. And then another lot of 73, so 3 plus 4 is 7, 7 plus 8 is 15, so we carry a 1 over here to make this a 6, so 657. This is our 73 times table, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 terms. You will only need to do a maximum of 9 terms, so sometimes you don't need to go as far as this, but the maximum you'll need to do will be 9. So we're going to start off with long division, and we've got 73 into 4,234. So first of all, we start off with 73 into 4, which doesn't go, so we just put a 0 above. Now we're looking at 73 into the first 2 digits, 4 and the 2, which is 42. Again, it doesn't go. So now we're looking at 73 into 423. So we're going to look over here, 423. If I come down to here, this is too many, 438, so it fits in 365. which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. So it fits in 5 times, and we've got 365 underneath. Now we've got to subtract them. So we've got to do 3 take away 5, which we can't do, so we need to borrow from the 2. So we cross out the 2, make it a 1, and borrow a 10 here. So I've now got 13 take away 5, which is 8. I've now got 1 take away 6, which I can't do, so I'm going to cross out the 4 and borrow. So I've got a 3 here, and I'm borrowing a 10, so I've now got 11 take away 6, which is 5. And 3 take away 3 is 0. Now I've got 73 into 58. Obviously it doesn't go, and it will never go because this is your remainder. So we have to bring this 4 down here. So we've now got the number 584. If you look down this list down here, 584 is exactly here, so it works exactly. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So it goes in 8 times. We write 8 at the top. We still need to write the 584 underneath and subtract to show that you get 0. It should always come down to 0 on these questions. If it doesn't come down to 0, then you'll need to do decimal points, but on these questions, it's most likely to come down to 0 at this stage. And this will give you 1 mark in the exam if you made a mistake. Now, doing it short division, we do the same setup to start with. So we do 73 into 4, doesn't go, so we're going to cross that out. How many left over is 4, so we've now got 73 into 42. Again, it doesn't go, exactly the same as before. So there are 42 left over, so we cross out the 42, and we've got a 42 here. So we've now got 73 into 423. Again, it's going to fit in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Now the difference here in the short division and the long division method is we've got to know how many is left over from 423 all the way up to, from 365 to 423. So basically 423 take away 365, which is what this sum over here does. 423 take away 365. It writes it down in the calculation. Rather than having to write those two sums out separately over here, or work it out in your head to get the 58 is the remainder, then you can set it out like this or just work it out in your head. So we've got a remainder of 58. Now 58 is quite a large number, which is why it's an advantage to do it the long division method, because it makes it easier to do that subtraction. Then we've got 73 into 584, which we can see down here, which we already worked out to be 8, which means your answer was 8. So you need to put it in the box and give yourself a big tick if you got it correct. Fantastic work. So it's personal preference whether you use the long division or short division method. You'll still get a method mark for using either one. But the subtraction in here to get this 58 out is much easier using the long division method than the short division method. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 58, and it gives you up to 2m, which means up to 2 method marks. So you can get 1 method mark for getting a mistake somewhere within here. So you can see how the questions have been awarded by different methods, and you will get 1 mark if you use one of these methods and made a mistake. If you got the correct answer, you would get full mark and get 58, get both marks. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Please follow Get Great at Maths on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and X. What do you want to see next on Get Great at Maths? Please comment below. See you next time.